Hello everyone and welcome. Make a cup of your favorite drink and get comfortable because this is a wonderful time for news stories from Yellow Cat. Send your own stories in the comments below and maybe they'll be in our new video. Subscribe to the channel if you're not subscribed yet, and let's get started. How quickly did you quit your last job and why? Part 7. On the first day, twice. The first time, I was an ice cream / milkshake maker at a well-known restaurant with a 50s theme. After resolving a problem and leaving me with a trainer, the manager assured me that the employee would assist me in clocking in. For a short while, the trainer was helpful and kind. When a group of 40 people arrived for a birthday celebration and my trainer walked out without saying anything, I was forced to work without any training. She never returned that day, but no one knew where she was or went. Nearly all of the equipment needed to be reset every few minutes in order to function because it was broken. When it was time for me to take my lunch, another supervisor said because I wasn't clocked in yet, so I would just have to clock in after my lunch and wouldn't adjust my timesheet to pay me for the first 4 hours of my shift, which I'm sure is very illegal. Because I was new, the waitress and nearly every other employee were incredibly rude and didn't even know my name. Even though they knew my name, they would just yell at me and refer to me as the new girl to get my attention. Managers also told me that I would have to go out and buy a Halloween costume before work the next day. My first shift was October 30th, and that if I came into work without a costume, then they would send me home and I'd get a write-up. When I told them I didn't have the money to buy a complete Halloween costume on short notice, they said that wearing cat ears or a witch hat wouldn't cut it. They also said that even if I was new, it was my responsibility to dress up for holidays. Lastly, they made me stay 45 minutes late to deep clean because it was some sort of hazing that they did. I left and never returned. The next day, I was gonna be written up for not having a good enough costume anyhow. I already had another job. This was gonna be a second job to make some extra cash, and I wasn't gonna be treated like that for minimum wage, not making tips either. The second time, a new coffee shop that was opening that week hired me as a barista. I went into orientation at 4:30 in the morning. I don't know why they schedule it that way, but it wasn't too big of a deal, just confusing, and we met with the managers and owners over Zoom. I discovered during this orientation that the entire company was run by tech bros who chose to create a coffee shop as a digital project, even though they had no actual interest in coffee. Their idea was to make a coffee shop where the only way to place an order was either through their app or by parking in the parking lot and waiting for somebody to come out and take their order from the parking lot. Just the app existed. There was no lobby or drive-thru. They said, ideally, we will switch to only app orders once we establish a customer base. And I thought this was a terrible way for a new business to attract customers. Who among the customers would download an app for a restaurant they haven't tried yet? They added that because they were based out of state, there would be no managers or shift leads nearby, meaning that all decisions would need to be made collaboratively by the crew. The fact that the establishment was filthy was what really put me over the edge, even though I already suspected it wouldn't succeed. When they wanted to open in less than 4 days, there were cockroaches in the sink, dust and dirt all over the place, and no equipment was set up. I didn't go back because I wanted a stable job and wasn't really interested in working for a tech bros startup. Not long after they opened, they closed for good. My gut hasn't led me wrong, so when it comes to jobs, if I don't feel respected or feel that it won't benefit me, I leave and I don't regret a thing. I was looking for a side gig because my main job kept cutting my hours. I found a gas station that was close to my main job and had plenty of space. I chose to give it a try, even though I wasn't sure. The owner hired me right away, this was the first red flag, and told me to start in a few days. The woman who opened the store at 4 a.m. on my first day scared the crap out of me because the boss lady hadn't told her I was coming, red flag 3. This is a safe area, but it's still a bad idea to open or close a store with only one employee. She shows me how to do it as we work through it. "If you ever need more change, there's an envelope of cash in the bag," she said as she started to show me how to use the cash register. "Just be responsible, it's based on honor." Now, this is a small gas station. The cash register, safe, cigarettes, and lottery tickets are all in a closet. There's no front of the store. A small rickety table and a folding chair are set up in the back, right next to the unlocked door, about 3 feet from the service window. Red flags 4 and maybe 5 have already made me think I won't be back for the next shift. Finally, we take a break, and I ask this lady what it's like to work there, and we start shooting the S. She says, "By the way, don't take it personally if the boss starts yelling at you. She gets angry and does that to everyone for no reason. You get used to it." Yeah, no. I tell her thanks for the opportunity, but this isn't for me, and I leave after 2 hours. She was very depressed because, shocker, they'd be struggling to hire/keep people. I was never paid. The cherry on top? A few months later, I heard through the grapevine that everyone who worked at that gas station got arrested and charged with lottery fraud. As if I wasn't already surprised enough, I left my A off. I missed a huge bullet. About 2 hours, early 1990s, very late 1980s. I had just received my business degree. I had a fantastic job working part-time while attending school at a Fortune 100 company. Was hired full-time, but during a downturn, many of us lost our jobs. In the end, I applied for an account representative job at a big chemical company that actually produced cleaning solutions and a variety of odor-enhancing products for public restrooms. If you've ever used a restroom or urinal in public, you have undoubtedly seen their drip device as well as urinal mats and pucks bearing their names. Well, I went for training, and it was literally with a dude at a motel room, like he was staying there a few nights, who had to teach me how to sell. I wasn't put off by him in the slightest. It was just his mannerisms and the impression I got from his attire that he was anything but sophisticated, stuck in the 1960s. Everything was done on commission. I was constantly getting cold calls, and my friends would constantly make fun of me for selling jokes about all the disgusting things about bathrooms. I called to say I was quitting because, to be honest, I couldn't imagine selling this stuff after my first job and felt like it was so rinky-dink. I was meant to start the following Monday. Remember, I was young and naive. All us smart grads watched the movie Wall Street, yes, the original, and I have the movie poster. We were all gonna live that life and be rich and take over the world. What was the most insane event that happened to you as a homeowner in an HOA? Part 7. What I was doing was teaching my stepdaughter, who is 6 years old, how to skip rocks in the pond. An individual who was a member of the HOA board came to a sudden stop in his truck and yelled at her to stop doing that. In response, I yelled at him, saying that if it were such a big deal, I would purchase additional rocks for the community. However, his reasoning was that I was disrupting the structure of the pond. In this individual's mind, the rocks that were preventing erosion were apparently small and thin rocks that were mixed in with the large boulders. After that, he somewhat retracted his statement and claimed that he was unaware of the fact that teenagers from other communities were tampering with the pond during that time. Let the large rocks be alone for a moment. My stepdaughter was upset by it, and after the brief encounter, she decided that she did not want to skip rocks. I told this story to a guy at work who just so happened to be on an HOA board with the same man at a sister community across town. The random outcome was that I told him this story after I told it to him. When they were at a meeting, the two of them got into a shouting match over rock skipping. There were another great number of things. I've relocated, never again. I remember that an ex-girlfriend's mother lived in a homeowners association. They bothered us because we set up a ping pong table in the garage. The mom was a semi-professional, Olympic-level ping pong player decades ago. They told us that the garage was only for cars, and that if we had a problem, we would have to go through all of this crazy bureaucratic crap that rivals the most ridiculous red tape required to dispose of radioactive waste. It was wild. At that moment, I decided, yeah, no, if you're gonna charge so much for an effing house and not let us use it, I get that you want your neighbors to keep their yard clean and other things like that, but Jesus Christ, a foldable ping pong table used 2 to 3 times a month just seems excessive. In the description of the house that we purchased a few months ago, it stated that there would be no HOA and we never signed any documents related to the HOA. The CC&Rs say there will be an HOA created, but there never was one created, and they were made in 2005. Our neighbor, whom we had only met the day before, knocked on our door yesterday and informed us that, although we do want the neighborhood to look nice, we're not required to pay dues. Then we brought up the fact that there are some houses that are completely unmaintained, and she continued to complain about those houses, but they have not yet fixed them, which leads me to believe that she is a complete and utter liar. There are other houses on Zillow that have descriptions that include the phrase "no HOA" right next door. We're in the state of Washington. I didn't sign any papers, and it still shows on Zillow "no HOA" in description. I think I'm safe, and this lady is just unhinged. In addition, I'm a first-time homeowner, and I would never purchase a home that's part of a homeowners association. Updates. The title company has verified that the HOA was never formed, and the sellers expressly mention there is no HOA in our deed. It's been 10 years since the neighbors moved in, and they claim that there is no HOA. A number of other neighbors who have recently relocated to this area also had her visit their homes, and they all claim that they did not sign any HOA documents. Despite the fact that new neighbors asked her for paperwork regarding the HOA, she did not provide it. It would appear that this lady is merely attempting to enforce the CC&Rs, which is fine with me because I've already signed and reviewed them. Final update. This situation has been resolved. She has established a neighborhood association that provides assistance during the holiday season, and on July 4th, and she refers to this as an HOA, she's also attempting to instruct people on what to do, but there is no HOA. Although she's unaware of the fact that I'm aware that her HOA is a hoax, I'm looking forward to receiving any complaints from her because I have copious amounts of evidence. A massive storm hit the area and caused a great deal of damage when I was living in Nevada with my mother and siblings. We heard what sounded like a huge crack of lightning during the night, or something like the sound of a garage door slamming shut. When we wake up the next morning to let the dog outside, we discover that the enormous tree in the elevated section of the backyard has fallen and been uprooted. It destroyed our backyard playset, our fence along the sidewalk, our back porch, and almost completely destroyed the farthest right side of the house. For a while, that ceiling was leaking. HOA informed us that the tree was an eyesore and that we needed to remove it and have the damage repaired right away. Like we weren't trying already. 2007 was the year that my wife and I made our first home purchase. In 2008, the HOA was transferred from builder to the new neighborhood. Almost immediately, the board's populated by members who are typical of horror stories, enforcing every rule that could possibly be enforced, including some that were made up. In the end, I campaigned for election in 2010, assumed the role of treasurer, and continued to serve in that capacity until 2021, when we finally sold the house and relocated to the countryside. Utilized my board position to impede their progress at every crossroads. What we want to do is X. Oh, no, that's not going to happen. I hired a property management company that I had known professionally for years and that was loyal to me. I also took away their parties and their parking stickers. I took away all their favorite toys, man, and I stopped them at every single GD bend in the road. Helped to remove the main D-head, and a lawyer was sent to send him a cease and desist letter, among other things. Despite the fact that it was a terrible experience, I spent more than a decade being petty to the original members of the group who believed they were royalty. This is a fantastic tale of vengeance, to say the least. I had an experience that was comparable. It's said that revenge is a dish that needs to be served cold. I add that it's also a dish best served over time. The first thing I did was commit all of my governing documents to memory, followed each and every rule, paid each and every assessment, and responded quickly to each and every communication. I do not provide them with any ammunition to use in retaliation. Being a contractor and owner of a business, I am fully aware of the inner workings of a homeowners association HOA. Following that, I do not show any compassion or consideration towards them. I insist that they issue work orders for even the smallest of the things that they're obligated to fix. I pick each and every teeny tiny mess that their vendors have left behind. They are not present at meetings. Rather, I see them walking down the street. When I have a complaint, I go to their front doors without making an announcement. They're on their personal phones, and I look them up and call them. I keep a record of every error that they commit, I use it to humiliate them, and I share all of this information with my neighbors so that they can do the same thing. I have no idea where to begin. I was afforded the opportunity to be treated with competence and respect, but they chose not to do so. Therefore, they're now effed. I'm in my early 30s and have a mortgage that's 3%. Nothing's gonna happen to me. I'm not locked in with them. They're locked in with me. If you want to watch the part 6, click the link here. I'm very, very glad to see you all in the comments again. Many, many thanks for support.